Hi and welcome to Magic Numbers. This is episode number 157, and today we're doing something very different. I've been invited to collaborate with Team Cosmos for the preparations for the Pro Tour, and this is the team meeting that I'm pre-recording for them, but it will be shared with you after the Pro Tour when the confidentiality is not as crucial, so hopefully you can learn from this in the same way that the pro players are going to learn. And today I'm going to go through all the cards in the set and try to give some data context on how they work and try to use some data tricks to figure out what is right in the what home and how should you use those cards and which cards show promise, which cards we can evaluate even though there is little data available, and try to put some extra information for all of them. And of course, thanks for the sponsorship from mtga.zone.com, and thanks for all the patrons and bulk box, and we can move on from there once I figure out that I'm not in the right window, of course. All right, so the structure is we're going to go through all the cards. We're going to go in the order from the highest game in hand win rate to the lowest game in hand win rate, and how much context I will add will depend on what is in there, really. So some cards I'm going to go with less detail, some cards I'm going to go a bit deeper on. Key element of this will be the win rate comparison. So I will look at the games played win rate of a color pair, and I'm also going to look at the games play win rate of decks that contain specific card in this color pair. And the idea is that if the decks with this card win more than the general decks in that color pair, something might be in it. And if it's lower, then it means maybe putting this card in those decks is detrimental. It's important to know that the effect size importance will depend on rarity, and I will explain it in a second. So if we look at all the white-black decks and a subset of those white-black decks that contain some rare, let's say Dion, we can expect that there's going to be a large difference in the win rates between those two, because we're looking at the small subset of the decks with this particular rare and a large subset of all the decks with white-black. And of course, Dion is a powerful card, so we can expect that it's going to be much, much higher. But if we do the same with some common, even if it's a good common, we're looking probably at a good half of white-black decks that contain that common, and the other half doesn't contain it. So we're comparing equal sizes, similar sizes samples in order to evaluate them. And then, of course, if there's a big difference within those decks that have the common, then the general all decks of this given color pair, of course, that difference is super important. That means that this common is probably belonging very well in those decks. All right, so let's start with the highest win rate cards, and let's start generally with the bombs. So these are the cards that are better than any uncommon in terms of games having win rate. And we start with Atraxa, one of the cards from the bonus sheet. Win rate 68.8 is super high. However, it's worth noting that decks that contain Atraxa do pretty badly when this card is not drawn. They have like a win rate of 45. So on average, the decks that contain Atraxa are like 56% win rate, when other bombs decks that contain them will have like average of 58, which means that Atraxa is a risky strategy. And you have to make sure that you see more of your deck in those games so that the games last longer, or that you actually have a lot of card draw and card selection. And the best homes for Atraxa that I found were blue, green, and Sultai. And actually, I'm going to look at all the 10 color pairs, but Sultai I added as the 11th honorary one because it has a large sample size and also has good win rate. So Sultai is this kind of third secret archetype, 11th secret archetype in this format. So yeah, with Atraxa, just be careful. You probably want to first pick it, and then you want to design your strategy around it and make sure that you see as much of your deck as possible, because once you cast it, no problem. The problem is that you sometimes will not have time to cast it, and sometimes you will not draw it, and that's a problem. You only see it in like 50% of the games. Then we have a much easier thing. Smuggler's Copter, it's great. Just very high win rate, 67% game in hand win rate. Easiest first pick because it goes into every deck. It performs well in every deck. Then we have Urza, Lord High Artificer, win rate 66.3. It looks amazing in white blue in particular artifacts. I mean, that makes pretty much sense. Games played win rate is 61.7, which means that the decks that contain Urza are super, super high win rate and definitely worth a first pick. But once you do it, you have to think of it more like a white blue card than a blue card. And of course, data is still lacking for other archetypes because it's super rare, because it's a mythic from the bonus sheet. Then we have Dion, 66.3. game in hand win rate, looks amazing in every single white deck, and also is looking promising as a splash. So don't be afraid of splashing it once you get it, like in pack 2 or pack 3. Arden the Usurper, 65.1 game in hand win rate. Best home is Sultai. Arden decks perform 5 percentage points better in terms of win rate than an average Sultai deck, which means that if you take all the Sultai decks and just the decks with Arden, it's super highly enriched for the win rate. It seems to have the best tools to enable it. And I mentioned the Sultai. It's also good in every single other black deck. I mentioned the Sultai because Sultai being 3-color, you might think, how am I going to cast it? Seems that it's not really a problem. It seems that you will find a way, and probably you have to prioritize things like the 4-mana spell that puts 2 lands into play, but then you will be able to cast it no problem, and the card takes over the game. Then we have Nibelheim of Flame. Game and win rate 64.9. Its best homes are blue-red and the red-green, and it looks slightly worse in white-red, probably because you just don't have the right size of creature. Red-green generally looks like a stompy deck that if you want to try to build it, and blue-red will just have randomly some huge creatures like, I don't know, Shintoto will kill everything once you cast Nibelheim and Flame, especially for the second part of the casting cost. Another one, Saj Katsroy, 64.9, just like Nibelheim and Flame, and it's great in any green deck. It's really good in any combination, so don't have to worry about it when you pick it. It will go everywhere. Primal Odin, 64.5. Again, great in any black deck. There is no discussions there. There's no really deep thoughts. Esper Origins, same here, 63.9. Great in any green deck. Just pick it. Don't think about it too much. Cryptic Command, 63.7. So it's really strong. That's a thing to remember because there is very scant data on it, but we can see from that data that it's still good. Probably you want to be heavy blue, obviously. And there is still not enough data for details on which archetype it's doing particularly good. I'm assuming blue-red is going to be super happy with it as it wants to be more blue than red anyway. Jill, Shiva's Dominant, great in any blue deck, 63.5. Again, pick it, don't worry about it. Sephiroth, now here we have a bit of more subtlety, 63.4. It's great in black-green and blue-black, but it's slightly less good in white-black, and it's actually below par in black-red. It just doesn't do what black-red wants to be doing. So when you're picking Sephiroth, you probably should think that black-green and blue-black are best homes. White-black is still a good home, but less good. And then probably you want to avoid being black-red once you pick it. Akroma's Will, 63.2 suggests it's really great. Not enough data for details, and that card has never been played in Arena, so hard to really say which archetype will be the best, but it looks like it does everything, so just put it in your decks and you'll be fine. Then we have Adeline, Resplendent Qatar, 63.1, not enough data for details, but I assume it's going to be much better in white-red and white-green, as these seem to be more aggro-slanted, but it's going to be great in everything, really. So, Primeval Titan has been a tier 0 deck for 10 years of modern metagame, but also good in limited, 63.1. Not enough data for details, but I assume it's great in every deck, and probably it's going to shine in red-green. Then we have a Buster Sword. Now here we have a bit more complicated card because Buster Sword goes into every single kind of color combination. 63 game in hand win rate, and it's absolutely great in white-blue and blue-black. And I don't know, is it linked to evasion or something? Potentially. It's still very good in white-black and black-green, but, and here maybe is a bit of a trap, it's below par in white-red, which technically is the equipment deck, and also it's below par in blue-red. It's probably just doing things at a different speed that you would be interested in, and there is no data for others, so I can't really say anything about it. But I would say Buster Sword, you probably want to position yourself into whatever Esper color there is, and maybe black-green. Then we have Yog the Dog, Tran Physician, 63%, not enough data for details, but I assume white-black is going to be the primary home for it, but it's going to be fine in every black deck. That's my guess, basically. Kuja the Genome Sorcerer, here we're talking about this strictly black-red card, and this is probably the best reason to start being black-red. Like black-red is not unplayable by any means, but it's lagging slightly behind all the other most of the other color combinations. But Kuja just changes the script there, flips the script. So you have to think about it like that, that if black-red on average is maybe like 1 percentage point behind other archetypes, if you pick Kuja, it is becoming the best archetype because it plays like 2-3 percentage points better than it would without Kuja. So it becomes better than your average blue-red deck. So picking it is a good idea, and then you can start moving. And it's still good as a splash in Dimir and in Izzet. So worth knowing that. Genova Ancient Calamity, 62.5. Very weirdly, it's best in red-green as a splash. But that probably has to do something with the, because the win rate of red-green is lower than the generic win rate and then of other color combinations, it's easier to improve a red-green deck. So lots of the numbers with red-green, also due to the smaller sample size, might be slightly out of whack. But it's still great in black-green. And it's still good in blue-black, blue-green, and in Sultai. So no problem with splashing it. However, it is below par in white-green decks. So be careful when trying to splash Genova in those decks. Maybe it's just not going to be worth it. And there's no data for any other archetype. Yuna, Hope of Spyra, 61.7 game ahead win rate. There is only data for white-green, and it's really good there. However, I like to note that it only ends up in 70% of the decks, because if you pick a multicolor card as your first pick, it will often happen that maybe your color combinations are not open, and then you cannot play it. With Yuna, it also has the extra difficulty level that you probably want to have some enchantments. And then if you don't get enough enchantments, I don't know if you're happy playing a 5-drop that is a 3/5 lifelinker on your turn. So lots of things have to go well for that card to be good in the deck. But if they do, then by all means do play it. And that also might mean that in pack 2, pack 3, you might get it somewhat later if you're positioning yourself for that type of deck. One thing I didn't mention, actually, Yuna is a mythic, but a lot of the cards in those top echelons were rares, and that's something to keep in mind. You will see a lot of them, and this is part of the balance of this format, I guess, that there's lots of busted rares that will support colors that maybe are not as strong on their own, like the black-red. Then we have SRAM, Senior Art Edificer, 61.7, great in white-red, but there's no data for others. But I'm assuming it's mainly like a secret Boros card. Now we start to move towards the win rates where uncommons start to show up. This is the best one of the bunch. Dragoon's Lance, 61.6. It is absolutely incredible in white-red. That decks with Dragoon's Lance are 4 percentage points better in terms of the win rate than decks without it. And it's still great in other white decks, so you don't have to be stuck on white-red when you pick it, but it's going to be particularly great in this. And here we have another uncommon, Choco Comet, 61.6 game in hand win rate. It's great in every single red deck. And it also has, I think, reasonable numbers as a splash in some blue-green decks if you have the right mana fixing for it. Another uncommon, Samurai's Katana, 61.5 game in hand win rate, and even better than in white-red than the Lance is. That is almost 5 percentage points higher win rate in Samurai's Katana decks versus an average Boros deck. And Lance and Katana, 2 reasons to go Boros, but of course Katana is also great in every single other red deck. So just pick this card high. It's at the power level of better than most of the rares. So keep that in mind. The same goes for Lance. The same goes for Choco Comet. Then we have Muldrotha from the bonus sheet, 61.4% win rate. There is not enough data for details, but I do assume it's going to be fine in Sultai somehow, as it is a Sultai card. Another uncommon showing up, 61.3, Summon Fenrir. It's great in every single green deck that includes Sultai. It is a bit weaker in white-green, but still good there. Another uncommon, Sidequest Hunt the Mark. Game and win rate 61%. It's great in all black decks, including Sultai. Just play it in your black decks. It is a high pick. It's relatively easy to flip. And removal is very important in this format because, as we've seen, lots of those rare bombs and mythic bombs that you need to deal with. Like, you really need to deal with the Primal Odin as soon as you physically can. Saj Katsroy uncontested is going to win the game. Arden is going to win the game. Dion is going to win the game. Urza is going to win the game. Atraxa, obviously, you probably already won the game, but you might still, fool yourself that you can do something with it by killing it. So all those things are must answer, and because of that, again, Primeval Titan, Adeline, those things you really need to kill. Yawgmoth, you need to kill that thing. Kuja, kill. Genova, kill. So removal important, and sidequest Hunt the Mark has a slight upside of being able to turn into something that opponent really also needs to kill, and it's not that easy after it flips. Kefka Court Mage, 60.9, so pretty solid numbers. This is a Grixis card, and it has the best results in blue-black. It outperforms the blue-black decks without it by 2.3 percentage points as a splash. It's slightly less in blue-red. It had actually a negative win rate impact on blue-red decks. So blue-red decks splashing for Kefka are worse than generic blue-red deck, which is something to keep in mind. And in black-red, it's roughly on par. So take it or leave it, depending on your really mana situation. I think that a lot of the time people just put it in blue-red and then don't have sufficiently quality splashing. Cloud of Darkness, another uncommon showing up, 60.8. Best cloud in the set, because, the other cloud. It's great in black-green, blue-green, in Sultai. It is acceptable as a splash in red-green, but less good in white-green. But it's still like a signpost uncommon that you should consider splashing in your heavier green decks, as it has 2 green pips and 1 black. Then we have Dark Confidant at any cost. But it is actually a secret white-black card. The decks with Dark Confidant in white-black have plus 5 percentage points improvement on their win rate, which is quite wild. It's also acceptable in blue-black, negative, but only minor negative in black-red, and not as good in black-green, probably because you will have a lot of more expensive spells in that. So it turns out that at any cost actually has some kind of a number on it, and black-green doesn't cross that bar, minus 1.5 percentage points. But in white-black, you go, down to the ground, you play your Magitech infantries and your bunch of your 2-drop equipments, and it can carry the game quite hard. Summon Knights of Round, that's an 8-mana mythic, 60.6 game in hand win rate, which means that you are able to cast it, and once you do, you probably win. It's best in white-blue, plus 3.4 percentage points, but it's still good in white-black and white-green at around plus 1%, so they overperform the generic versions of their decks. But it has some moderately negative numbers in white-red, so probably white-red does not have enough time, or it often will be like a mulligan because you can't cast it and you have to win with fewer cards, so that just doesn't fit the plan. But in white-blue, it seems like it works very well. Notably, I only took the data from Sultai from Multicolor, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to also work in some kind of a Multicolor concoction. It's just that there's not enough data to actually conclusively prove it. Cypher Elmasi, who knows? 60.3. It's great in white-red, black-red, and red-green, and it's only mid in blue-red. Plus 0.2 in white, red, black, green, red, green, around plus 2.2 percentage points, the decks that contain it versus the ones that don't. So yeah, put it in those, and in blue, red, you probably want to put it in there if you can pick it quite easily. But if you have like Thunder Magic to pick instead, you probably are better off picking just Thunder Magic. Memories Returning, 60.2. It's great in all blue decks, including Sultai. Still good, but a bit less good in white-blue. And that can come to 2 things. Maybe white-blue wants more white than blue, and the casting cost becomes a problem. Also, maybe white-blue wants to focus more on the aggressive side. But, I mean, I don't know if that's true if the Knights of Round are doing well in that deck. So Summon Leviathan, 60.1, best in blue, green, and Sultai. Still positive in all the other decks, but not by much. So it's not as busted there. I think that if you can get some additional Leviathans, and I think blue, green, and Sultai have space for other Krakens, Merfolk, Octopi, Serpents, and namely Sahagin and Sin would fit there quite well. And then also the Octopus dude. Then it's going to be, of course, performing better. But looks like it is in those rampy, Simic adjacent decks at its best. Overkill, another uncommon, 60.1, great in every black deck. And it's still good in blue-green as a splash. As I said, removal is important, so splashing for removal in those blue-green decks that maybe don't have the best kind of removal spells is going to be beneficial. Swallowed by Leviathan, another uncommon and a big surprise of the set, I think. 60% game in hand win rate, great in every blue deck. Data for this might be a bit skewed because this looks to me like a card that good players will play more. And if good players are more likely to play a certain card, the win rate is going to go high because good players tend to win more. So yeah, you can make in your head adjustment that maybe that card is not as great as here and should be moved somewhere down the pick orders. Still going to be great though. Xanos Yay Galvus, 59.9, great in blue black, solid in Sultai and white black, and it actually is below par in black red and black green. I have no idea why is that the case. It can have something to do with the sample sizes. It is a rare, so some sample sizes are relatively small, and this kind of caveat goes for every single thing. Like some of those things are by necessity because we have to do it early. Slightly lower in terms of their win rate. Saj's Chocobo, perfect name for a card for a Polish person to pronounce, as our national sounds. 59.8. It's great in all green decks, not black decks as it says on the slide. Hopefully you figured that out. It has a high variance card. It's really like almost insane on turn one if you can play it. Like the opening hand win rate is around 68%. Who knows, maybe even 1 percentage point higher than that. And then, of course, it drops off significantly as you draw it later in the game. But it's still worth it for that insane opening hand win rate. And yeah, definitely you want to have it in your opening hand, which means that you want to have multiple copies because the more copies you have, the more likely you're going to get it on turn one when it's important. And then you don't care that you draw the other ones later. The first one will do all the damage. Summon Titan, 59.8, great in all green decks. It somehow didn't get an amazing numbers in Sultai. And it's slightly less good in black-green, but that might have to do that black-green is slightly better on average. Maybe this card has a pretty much flat power level. Sultai, it can be explained, but it's quite heavy. Mana requirements are preventing it from being cast on curve. So probably going to behave very well in Sultai decks with really good mana base. Or the ones that are heavier on the green. Shantotto, Tactician Magician, 59.8. It's great in blue-red. Plus 1.5 percentage points. That's great for an uncommon. And especially for a signpost uncommon, because signpost uncommons will go a lot more to their decks. So, like a good 60% of Izzet decks will have a Shantotto or 50% or something, which means that we're comparing the half of the decks in blue-red that contains Shantotto does 1.5 percentage points better than all blue-red decks, which would mean that, Shantotto decks and are 3 percentage points better than non-Shantotto decks. So it's a huge number. The only other pair with the data is blue-black, and there is a minus 1.5 percentage points there. So splashing it might not be a great idea. Think carefully about doing it. Kram, Ludovic's Opus, at 59.8. It's great in blue-red, plus 3 percentage points, but it's a rare from a bonus sheet, so not much other data. Hard to say something else. Delivery Moogle, another uncommon, 59.8. Great in all white decks. Just put it in any white deck and you'll be fine. First common, and we have a startup of the commons showing up. Dragoon's Wyvern. 59.7, great in all blue decks. Just put it in your blue decks, you'll be happy. It doesn't matter that it doesn't have spell synergies. A synergy of a 2/1 flyer with a 1/1 is good enough synergy, it turns out. Then we have Gilgamesh Master at Arms, 59.7 game in hand win rate, predominantly in white-red, but it's still okay in red-green and black-red, and it's actively bad in blue-red. Also, the same thing as with Yuna, it only is played 66% of the time when it's drafted, so the build around requirements may stop you from being able to put it in your deck. So that's worth noticing because, a good card that you play 66% of the card is not the same as a good card that you play 98% of the time, like Smuggler Sculptor. And I still don't know who are those 2% of people who didn't put the Smuggler Sculptor in their deck. But that just tells you something about the quality of the data. There will be some chunk of it that is people who potentially don't know how to evaluate cards, because not putting a Smuggler Sculptor is a strange choice. Then you have Sin, Spyro's Punishment, 59.7. It's got weirdly bad numbers in blue-black. Probably blue-black doesn't want to splash, has a different plan a bit. But it's great in blue-green, blue-black-green, black-green. And the green, I think, is an important thing in there. Like town criers are going to be essential for the town greeters are going to be essential for this card to be good. Maybe that's why it's weirdly bad in blue-black, because you don't have access to town criers and you just don't fill your Sin bin well enough. Then we have Fatal Push, 59.7, good in all black, particularly good in white black, plus 2.5. And it's slightly less good in black red, only plus 0.4. Maybe it's harder to activate the Revolt when you are in black red efficiently. White Auracite, another common we have here, 59.6. Good in all white decks, best in blue-white, but at plus 2.1. But in the rest, it's around plus 1.4. It's really, really strong in all the white decks, like a real good key card. If you don't end up your white draft with Auracites, you probably shouldn't have been white. Lunar Whale, 59.6. It's good in all blue decks, best in blue-red, at plus 2 percentage points, but it's still good in the rest at around plus 1 percentage point, apart from white-blue for some reason. And again, might be something to do with the sample size, but it's only plus 0.3. Still on the plus, and you still should play it, but slightly worse there for some reason. Sephiroth's Intervention, another common, 59.6, good in all black decks. Apart from white-black for some weird reason, where decks with it are just average 0.00, but maybe there's just such a huge sample size for them that that's the reason. It's got minus 1.4 as a splash in blue-red, so probably worth avoiding, but plus 0.5 in blue-green. And maybe, like the reason for that, why would you splash removal in blue-red? Because you didn't get removal in blue-red. Why did you get no removal in blue-red? Well, because blue-red was not really open and you tried to force it. So maybe that's the kind of a result we're looking at it. So yeah, make sure that if you draft your blue-red, let it be open. The color combinations are so close in terms of their win rates that it's not worth to be forcing a deck that has a marginally higher win rate. The trap you might fall is that specifically blue-red is open, but you're cut on both blue and red from for other reasons, and then you will get all the Shantottos and the Emperors of Palamecia, but you will not get key blue and red cards, and you might fool yourself into thinking that, oh, but blue-red was open, and actually, no, the blue-red was open, but blue was not open, red was not open. That's your problem. Now you have to splash Sephiroth's Intervention, and your deck sucks. Whew. All right, Emperor of Palamecia, talking about which, 59.6, worse than Shantotto, but still great in its deck, and you should definitely pick it. Combat Tutorial, another common we have, 59.5. It's solid in all blue decks, just it doesn't really matter. It's going to be better in some more proactive, aggressive ones, but it's all good. It's all upside there. Torgal, a Fine Hound, is a fine card indeed. Solid in all green, 59.5% game and hand win rate. It's best in red-green, but also red-green is lower win rate, so that might be a reason. But also, from all the data I look at, red-green looks at it best when it's chonkers, and Torgal lets you ramp towards those chonkers earlier, so that's pretty good. Then we have Balamb Garden Seed Academy, 59.5. It's great in all Saltai color combinations. So as a splash in the black green, in blue green, in Saltai itself, and land with that kind of a win rate is a true bomb because you put it in your deck without costing you an actual spell, and especially with the amount of tutors that let you get it on the battlefield without actually touching your hand, which the game and hand win rate doesn't catch. It gives you an almost deterministic plan of having this thing to do later in the game. So it is a prime bomb, even though the data might not suggest it. It's way more powerful. It should be higher up in those pick orders than the game and hand win rate suggests, I think. Cornered by Black Mages, game and hand win rate 59.3. Another common. It's great in white, black, blue, black, black, red, but it has negative numbers in black, green, and Sultai, so sort of different plans, and it just doesn't work in those decks, allegedly. So focus on especially white, black, black, red, and blue, black. They all look pretty solid with it. Vincent Valentine, game and hand win rate 59.3. It's great in white, black, blue, black, black, red. It's got slightly negative numbers in black, green, and Sultai. It's better than Sahagin, Sean, I was told to tell you. But not actually by much. It's not as clear-cut as you would think. Vanille, Cheerful Lassie. I don't know, Lassie? Cheerful Lassie? That's a good pronunciation, I think. I'm going to go with Cheerful Lassie. 59.3. Great in all green decks. Apart from white-green, where it's only good. But still, I mean, you should put it in your deck there, no problem. Obviously, you get some minor boost in black-green because you can live the dream of melding it. Ultra's Obnoxious Octopus, it's best in blue-red, 59.2 game and hand win rate. Still good in blue-green and white-blue, but it's slightly below par in blue-black and Sultai. Another typo. And again, it's still on the level where you should be probably always playing it, but slightly below par. Thunder Magic, 59.2. Best in blue-red, no surprises there, but also in black-green, black-red, and red-green. And it's still okay in white-red, and it's still okay as a splash in Sultai, in Simic, and Dimir. So wide range of where you can put this card. So if you pick it and then you get pushed out of any red color combinations, don't despair. I think it's fine to splash it in Dimir. It's fine to splash it in blue-green if you have, especially if you have those casting things for 4 mana payoffs. Mughul's Valor, that's a strange card to evaluate, so worth looking at it. 59.1% game in hand win rate. It's best in white, black, and white, green. These are the most proactive white archetypes that focus on creature casting and having wider boards. It's still good in white blue, and it's actually low in white red, which is probably more. I cast creatures, but then I attack, I trade the board, and the board is a bit smaller, and then I start putting my equipment on my stuff, and I don't ever have mana for the Mughul's Valor or wide enough board. Then we have Eject, 59.1, very good in all blue decks. Just put it in them, and you'll be happy. Great 4-mana spell, very impactful, very demure. Traveling Chocobo, 59.1, very good in white, green, blue, green, and black, green. And it looks like a trap in red, green. And I think that the trap is people falling into trying to make this bird tribal that doesn't come together often enough, and then they end up with the substandard version of it, and they tank the win rate of red-green. Well, probably it would be still fine if you would treat the red-green not as a birds tribal. You don't need a million birds to play it. But just as a chonkers kind of rampy aggro mid-range deck. And I think problem partially is in the design. There's just too many birds that are tokens. There's the Call of the Mountain Chocobo, the Guess at Greens, all those cards you cannot find with it, and it's a bit awkward non-bow when you have this Chocobo that finds birds, but then you find birds that are not birds, and you get annoyed. Lightning Bolt is great in all red decks. Cloud, Midgard Mercenary, 59% game in hand win rate. It's a secret white-green card for some reason. It has plus 4 percentage points there, the decks that contain Cloud. It's okay in white-blue, but it has negative numbers in white-black and white-red, which is super weird, but it's a mythic, so there's a potential impact of sample size. I don't know. It's for you to figure out why it's secretly so good in the white-green, what cards would enable that. But I'm just pointing towards this data point and underlining strongly that this might be just a variance effect. Resentful revelation. Here we have large sample sizes, so much more trust in those data. It's great numbers in blue-black, black-red, and black-green, plus 2 percentage points for a common, a lot. And then in white-black, it's only plus 0.3, still on the positive side, but not by much. And Sultai -1, probably you're stretching yourself too much because you're more focused on the lands you want to be having town greeters for that effect rather than the resentful revelation. Then we have Zidane, Tantalus Thief, 59% game and hand win rate, solid in white-red. Summon Bahamut, 58.9, great in blue-black, plus 4 percentage points, and in blue-green, plus 2.7, solid in red-green, okay in black-green. So maybe the green is sort of like needed there for the ramp, and blue-black, also wants to play long game and has a lot of card draw, which is sort of like ramp. Yeah, you definitely want to play that in those rampy decks or decks that want to play a super long game. Again, it's a mythic, so the sample sizes are somewhat small. Keep that in mind. But it looks good. The game and hand win rate is solid, and if you think that your deck can go to this turn 9, by all means, put Bahamut in your deck. Battle menu, 58.9, great in all white decks. Just put it in your white decks. That's it. Town Greeter, 58.9, and this is the linchpin card of the format for me. It's like so important for all those graveyard decks because it fuels them, and at the same time, it makes sure you get your mana. So it's great in black-green, blue-green, red-green, and in Sultai. It's less good in white-green. White-green wants to play more proactive game, I think, and doesn't care that much about playing a 1/1 on turn 2. Also, like with Eden, Town Greeter can be your sort of deterministic way of getting your bomb, because you can play a bunch of Town Greeters. Even if you mill your bomb, you can get back the Eden from the graveyard through Town Greeter or through drawing it, and then you can rebuy your bomb, cast it, and everything is fine. Machinist's Arsenal, 58.8. It's a mainly white, blue, and white green card. Again, these are the more creature proactive decks. And at plus 1.5, and it's like neutral on white, black, and white green. White green has a small sample though, but maybe that has something to do with Cloud being good in those white green decks. Maybe this Cloud and Machinist's Arsenal together that make the difference. Sleep Magic, 58.8 game and hand win rate, good in all blue decks. Colosseum Behemoth, 58.8, good in all green decks. Ignisciencia, and this is going to be so funny that when I looked at this data, it was so funny for me at least. 58.8 game in hand win rate, great in all Sultai colors, slightly weaker in black green because it's a splash card there, so probably you won't be able to play it on turn 3 when it's the best, and it's actively bad in white green. And then we have Omega Heartless Evolution with exactly the same 58.8. It's again great in all the Sultai colors. It's slightly weaker in black-green, very much like Ignisciencia, even though here the splash shouldn't be playing that much of a role. It's actively bad in white-green as Ignisciencia. This one had an additional data point of potentially being okay in red-green, which is along with this vision that I have of red-green being the Chonker's deck. But it's absolutely mad how similar stats of those two are. I looked at my file, and just next to each other, there were those two cards that have exactly the same stats across 10 color pairs. And I was like, what are those? And it turned out it was the Ignisciencia and Omega. Kenrith, the Returned King, 58.8, so solid card, but not enough stats to tell anything more about it. Dreams of Laguna, 58.7. Great in blue-black and blue-red. Whenever you want to cast a spell with and pay 4 mana for it, that card is great. Also good in blue-green, but it's bad in white-blue. Circle of Power, great in blue-black and black-red. Another group of group of archetypes where casting something for 4 mana will matter frequently. It's okay in white-black, and it's bad in black-green. So numbers are good. Like 58.7 is a good game and win rate, but it is predominantly a Demir and Rakdos card. Adelbert Steiner. This is like the small thing that I cannot get. Like, why is it called Adelbert, not Adalbert, as I would think in my head? I will misspell that card every single time. 58.6, good in all white cards, white decks. Here we have Sahagin, the secret hero of the format so far. 58.6, solid game and win rate. It's good in blue-red and blue-black, but it's not so good in blue-green and white-blue. So this is another of these Grixis wedge cards, but it's going to be great in there, and I foresee that it's going to be a crucial card in the format. Ice Magic has also very similar numbers to Sahagin. It's slightly better in blue-green than Sahagin was, but it's still great in those Grixis color combinations, so the blue-red and blue-black. Ilmek Pixie is just good in any blue deck. 58.5 game in hand win rate, so just put it in any blue deck, don't worry about it. SideQuest card collection, another card that goes into this Grixis color, so blue-black, blue-red. Not great in blue-green, bad in white-blue. Probably just white-blue is not interested in the effect at all. Even though it makes an artifact, but not good enough. Sorceress's Schemes. Another Grixis card, the good in Demir and in Rakdos. 58.5. There's no data for others, but that card in Arena at least still goes very late, so I would draw your attention to that card and start picking it when you're playing those spells matters. This gives you like a ton of ways of casting a 4-mana spell, including itself twice. So yeah, worth looking at it, but probably you don't need to prioritize it still. But it's a good enough card that you probably should pick it over many, many things. Like, it's definitely in top 100 cards of the set, so like top 1/3 of the cards. And it's an uncommon, while most of the other cards in that top third are rares and mythics and bonus sheet cards. Ancient Adamantes. It's not Adamantoise as I pronounced it. Adamantes. 58.5, good in black-green and red-green. Ramp, Chonkers. Medium in blue-green for some reason. And it has really bad stats in white-green, which means that it just doesn't, the plan doesn't work there. Vein's Treachery, another common here, 58.4, good in all black decks, but it's bad as a splash. All the splash data that I had were negative for this card. It's just not impactful enough. Paying 2 mana and sacrificing something to kill, just not making it on the splash. X-Death Void Warlock, good in all the Sultai decks, but it's actually bad in splash as a splash in blue-green. Not enough impact, I think, for it to be important, and blue-green has a bit less of the graveyard focus than black-green and Sultai decks will. Rhinoa Heartily, 58.4, good in white-green, okay, splash in red-green and blue-green based on the data. Ninja Blades, game in hand win rate 58.3, great in white-black specifically. It's really good numbers there. It's still good in blue-black and black-green, but it was weak in red-black for some reasons. Joshua, solid in its colors, white-red, but probably weaker than you think. It's not like a top-tier bomb. It's just like the secondary bomb. And it does look like a bad idea for a splash, especially in a blue-red where people tend to do it a lot, and those decks don't have a particularly good win rate because nothing else in white contributes to the plan. But yeah, I mean, in other decks, it's okay to splash it, but your deck is not going to end up much stronger for it. Vivi Ornithier, solid in blue-red. I mean, probably worth picking because you will increase the value of your Pro Tour by picking especially a foil version of it. But I think that the problem with this card, and it's a problem with lots of those kind of rares, it leads people to force blue-red when they get it pick one. And because they lead to force it rather than to craft their path and find an open lane, it leads to weaker blue-red decks that way. So even though Vivi is a strong card, it can lead to weaker blue-red decks. And this is like a general thought that sometimes first picking something and putting the blinders on is not worth it, because it will lead you to having a weaker deck, and you just don't accrue any benefits of playing this stronger card. Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn, 58.2. It's generally weaker in white-blue, and it's another card that is like not worth forcing white for it. It's heavy white requirements to cast it. You want to cast it on curve, and it has to survive to do something. So this is not the kind of a card that is worth picking it and then drafting something around it. It's something that you should be getting as a reward for being white rather than a reason to be white. Jecht, Reluctant Guardian, Jecht. Who knows? Is he German? 58.2, better in black-green and in Dimir. Less so in white-black and black-red, but still good in those. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, you put it in any black deck, but it's just like markedly better in black-green and blue-black in terms of its data. Fat Chocobo, solid in all green, 58.2 game in hand win rate. It's slightly weaker in red-green, but mainly because red-green is just a weaker archetype, but it's exactly what red-green wants to be doing, so definitely put it in your red-green decks. Lock, it's a good signpost, and also it has good numbers as a splash in blue-green and in Sultai decks, so worth playing at those. 58.2 game in hand win rate. Squall Seed Mercenary, it's great in white-black, but it probably is a bad splash. A small sample size, but it looks horrendous in white-blue, but that has something to do with, I think that people tried this Esper Artifacts decks a lot on Arena, and it just doesn't work, mainly because it's not worth putting 3 colors for that particular synergy. That synergy is significantly weaker, and that can be seen that like the artifact builds of Dimir in general are doing way worse than just a generic Dimir deck. So probably that's one of the reasons. But in white-black, this card looks great, just exactly what you want to be doing. Counterspell, 58.1, great in Izzet, good in Dimir, but it looks sort of weak in white-blue and blue-green, as these decks probably want to tap out way too often and don't play at instant interaction, while those spells deck will often leave mana up, and Counterspell is a good way to host someone. So yeah, put them in the spells decks. Magitech Armor, 58, game in hand win rate, good in white-blue and white-black. Less so in white-red and white-green, but it's still playable in there. That turns out that vehicle that makes a friend is decent. Shinra Reinforcement, it's a secret Golgari card. I mean, not that secret. When I say secret, I mean, it doesn't have green in its mana cost, but as well it might have. It still looks okay in like Dimir and in black-red and in Sultai, but it does look bad in white-black. This is not what you want to be doing in your Orzhov decks. Okay, and this covers all the cards that had a game in hand win rate over 58%. Now I'm going to go through the rest cards in this kind of table version. And here you have those numbers that I've been talking about. So what this means is that the decks with Regalia in white-blue have a minus 1.1 percentage point lower win rate than the generic white-blue deck, which has a win rate of 55.9. But on the other hand, white-black decks with Regalia have 2.3 percentage point higher win rate than a generic white-black deck with 56.5. So, Regalia in white-black means that you, on average, have a deck that is better than any single individual archetype, because best win rate is 57.5 generically, and this will have 58.8. So slightly better than Izzet if you have Regalia in your Orzhov deck. But here are I started with the colorless card. They go in every deck. And Regalia has, again, small sample size, so treat it with a grain of salt. Particularly good numbers in Orzhov, in Selesnya, and in Izzet. It is a 4-mana non-creature spell, so maybe worth something. And it actually has low win rate in Boros and low win rate in Sultai. And in the rest of the decks, it's sort of like meh-ish. Strange, like even blue-green, I was expecting it being slightly higher, but it's at minus 0.1, which is fine. You should probably put it there because the game and hand win rate is very high still for the card. But yeah, don't expect it to make miracles in your deck. Zanarkand, Ancient Metropolis, another one of the first one of those adventure lands. Generic game and hand win rate 57.4, which is super high for a land, so definitely worth watching. And it has great numbers in every green combination, except for black green when it's minus 0.2. But black green also has the highest win rate, so you still probably want to, you definitely still want to put it in there, especially that it's a land. So yeah. Traxos, Scourge of Krug, 57%. No data for any archetypes because it's a rare from the bonus sheet, but definitely a playable card. So keep that in mind. Capital City, medium numbers. It's a land, so that means that's good. You probably don't want to play it white, black, and white, red, and potentially white, green. But in all the decks that are either those spells centric or green centric graveyard synergies, you want to be playing that card actively. And similar numbers, but maybe less disproportion for the Crossroads Village. Less disproportion because, of course, the sample size for Crossroads Village is going to be much higher as a common than Capital City as a rare. With increased variance, you get more of those extreme results. Oh, wait, Capital City is the uncommon one, yes? Or is it another common? That's the filter land, yeah? Okay, that makes sense. The filter land is going to, of course, be worse in color in decks that want to be strictly 2 colors because you don't need to splash. While here you get the benefit of it being able to splash something more frequently. Crossroads Village, better numbers across board, solid card, 55.9. Starting Town, that's the rare one, the pink land. And yeah, again, point still stands. It's not great in white decks. It's going to be best in Dimir, in Sultai, obviously, because here you definitely want to be splashing for 3 colors. But not amazing numbers across board in other color combinations. So you really need to be tapping into the potential of casting 3-4 color spells in your deck in order to make it worth for you to have it as an early pick, which I assume it will relatively be. Pew Pew UFO, 55.8, which is not a terrible number, but it's just like sort of below par for most of the archetypes. Best home seems to be Sultai, and to some extent Gruul. Not as good as I thought it would be in blue green, but I guess you still feel it's a filler sort of type of card. Treno Dark City, that's the blue black dual. And here you can see what I was talking about, Esper. It's got absolutely atrocious stats in both white-blue and white-black, which means that these Esper decks are basically a trap. Atrocious numbers, -5, -7.8 percentage points. But obviously it's okay in blue-black. Here, like lots of blue-black decks will have it, so even a small improvement is significant. And it's still okay in black-green and in Sultai. So that points towards this Sultai wedge, unlike Esper wedge being good. Guado Salam, that's the blue-green one. It's, again, good numbers in the Sultai wedge, not so much outside of it. Gone, Tower of Ruin, that's the black-green one. Again, good numbers in the Sultai ones. And notice that these cards are still sorted with the game and hand win rate order. So the Sultai dual lands are significantly better than all the other dual lands in the format, which is, again, something to keep in mind. That Sultai thing is a real thing. Then we have the second half of the lands. Baron is the Izzet one. Obviously okay in Izzet, but nothing special. You probably want to get them just for the consistency. Looks a bit better in red-green, but again, red-green has a low win rate and medium numbers in the adjacent colors to the blue-red. Eden, Seat of the Sanctum. That has decent game and hand win rate, so I would watch it. Looks fine in white-black. Looks really good in red-green for some reason. I guess that red-green does not have much card advantage in terms of card advantage engine, and rebuying some of the big creatures might be decent. Surprisingly low number in Sultai. I actually found it good there by using the combo with the Town Greeter and Eden to make sure that I get my bomb for sure. But worth noting that data does not agree with me. Pretty bad numbers in blue-red. But I think that it's definitely a card worth exploring just based on the game and hand win rate. And you being able to judge, do I have a deck that can play a colorless land for the inevitability that the Eden gives me. Adventures in, again, not terrible numbers in general. I think it's mainly played in blue-green. Notably good with Chocobo Kick because you can rebuy the 2-life effect for it. So yeah, blue-green decks want towns. This is a town, whatever. Lionheart is a secret white card, although it has like okay numbers in Dimir as well. Potentially not in white-black, but other white decks look fine with playing it. Monk's Fist, that's definitely a secret white card. Really good numbers in all the white archetypes. That's where you want to be putting it. Vector, that's the black-red land. It should be played in black-red decks. Surprise, surprise. Windhurst Federation Center. It's good numbers in white-black, suggesting maybe there is an Abzan something. I mean, obviously solid in its own color combination, but here again, we were going to see that most of the white-green decks will have it. So having anything above 0 is important. And then it has like weirdly neutral numbers in any other color combination, mainly because you're probably looking at some specific subset of splishy splashy 4-color decks. Ishgard, the Holy Sea. That's the white adventure land. It's got good numbers in white, black, and white, red, but bad numbers in the other white color combinations. Insomnia, Crown City. That's the white-black dual. And just shows you like all the other white color combinations apart from white-black have really bad numbers with it. Like splashing black into your non-white-black white decks looks like a bad idea. Decent number in white-green, but probably this is the sort of towns deck artifact. You just put it as a town. Sharlayan, Nation of Scholars. Azorius 1 is good in Azorius. You heard it first here. Gongaga, Reactor Town, red-green dual, good in red-green. For a more interesting one, the Gold Saucer. That card looks bad across board. While Midgar, City of Mako, that's the black adventure land, looks pretty solid in white-black and black-red. And maybe in Sultai, but that's probably low sample size. But it looks like pretty bad in Dimir and in Golgari. Some spoilers appeared. Rabanastro Royal City, the white-red, looks good in its own color combination. That's where you should play it. There is some indication that there is a Naya something happening here with the red-green having a positive numbers as well. Ultima, Origin of the Oblivion. Pretty bad numbers, pretty low game hand win rate of 53.5. The only archetype when it seems to be doing fine is white-green, and that maybe has something to do with the low availability of reach creatures and it being interested in generically in creatures. But generally, yeah, not a great card. Relentless X-ATM 092, the 6-mana wannabe cave troll. Can't be blocked except for 3 or more creatures. Pretty bad win rate and pretty bad numbers across board, specifically in white-blue, which might be, you think artifact deck. But it has good numbers in the red-green. So I think that the Chonker's Dream lives with Relentless X-ATM in this particular color combination. Adventurer's Airship, the Smuggler's Copter at home. Not as good numbers as Smuggler Copter by any means, 53.2. But it has positive numbers in white, red, and white, green. So that's worth noting. And then we have Ring of Lucy. Only color combination where it has good numbers is black, green. Instant Ramen. I think it's significant, actually, that it has only the positive numbers in white, black. This is something that you can easily sacrifice, gives you some kind of card advantage. It's good in this kind of attrition game plan. Then you have Lindblom Industrial Regency. Strangely has a negative numbers in black-red. I was expecting it's going to be good in black-red, but it's not. But it has positive numbers in red-green. Again, red-green being the worst, lowest win rate archetype. Those pluses don't mean as much. And then we have like a bunch of those filler kind of cards. World Map has basically bad numbers in most of the places. It has promising indications of being okay in black-red. potentially because you want to splash a bit, but also potentially because it's a cheap spell that can trigger your mages that you can play instead of your 17th land, or even 2 instead of your 17th and 16th land in your deck. Then Blitzball, it's not Dragonstorm Globe. Bad numbers across board, including blue-green. The only color combination when it's approaching the 0 is Soul type, which makes sense. It's a 3-color combination. It wants fixing more than anything. And I think that's the role of Blitzball in this format. It's not a card that you want to be playing outside of those 5-color concoctions. And those 5-color concoctions are not as powerful and don't come together as often as they did in Team Tarkir Dragonstorm. Lunatic Pandora, it showed pretty bad numbers across board. The only place where it's less bad, even, it's not even good, it's just less bad, is white-black. Again, the sacrifice synergies plus plus attrition. That's probably why it works. Blue Adventureland is just bad in all the blue decks. And then we have a bunch of colorless artifact to end with. Genji Glove, a Magic Pot, Elixir, Iron Giant, Excalibur 2, and the Masamune. All of them have bad numbers. I did flag Masamune as potentially a solid sideboard card. If you're playing a grindy deck against another grindy long game deck, the Masamune can actually do something. And potentially the same applies to Genji Glove, but I would never. I would definitely not main deck those if I can. Okay, now we move to the individual colors, starting with black. And we have Evil Reawakened. It's great in Sultai, and I think those Sultai decks want to have the reanimation kind of feature in them. It's solid everywhere else, not great in black-red. That's one deck that it doesn't do very well. But 57.9 is a high enough win rate that I will want to see that card on my radar, and I know that I can put it without too much damage in any black deck, basically. Sir Conrad the Grim. Again, a card that is hard to evaluate because we have the pre-existing notions about it. But numbers are generally good, 57.4, but it does perform significantly worse in white-black and in black-red, while it's really good in black-green and solid in Dimir and Sultai. So you want to stick to those Sultai color combinations for it. Albeit Salvagers, the painter artist? No, not paint. Whatever. Blood artist thingy. 57.2. But mainly accumulated in white-black. This is the white-black card. Plus 1.5 there. It's really solid. It's still okay in the rest. A bit of a surprise, Marlborough. 57.2. That's a high win rate for a common that we thought probably will be unplayable. And it does well in blue-black, black-red, and black-green. And still okay in white-black and in Sultai card decks. In Sultai, probably, the double pip cost is a bit too much, but the rest of them, it looks like it's playable. Deadly Dispute, weirdly, and very weirdly for me, is a very low win rate in white-black, -2, and +1 in black-red. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to interpret it. And here we have Hack Dice, 57% game and hand win rate, but positive across board in every black archetype. So this is your perfect card that I want to have in my deck, probably in multiple copies, and I'm not sad about it at all. It's not powerful, but it's good enough. Final Days, bad in Orzhov, Dimir, and Rakdos, but great in those Sultai concoctions in black-green and then Sultai pure decks. So definitely a card that has a particular specific home linked to the plan. Undercity Direct, this is your replacement level common, like around 0, -1 in all the archetypes. Dark Knight's Greatsword, it has really solid numbers in white-black, so it's a secret Orzhov card, and looks okay-ish in black-red. Maybe making those wizards into real creatures is worth it, but really poor numbers in Dimir and in Golgari. Then there's Gaius van Belsar, 56 game and hand win rate is not great. But again, this is a card that has promising numbers in Golgari and Sultai. And definitely not in Dimir. Dimir probably doesn't have enough creatures to play it. Because it's a spell-centric deck, and then you won't get the good full benefit. Black Mage's Rod, that's Orzhov and Rakdos card. Potentially is okay to play it in blue-black if you don't have other 2-drops, but it's pretty bad in those grave-centric decks. Ahriman, replacement level in Orzhov and Rakdos, and then pretty bad in Dimir and Golgari. Demon Wolf, 55.6 game in hand win rate. That's good in blue-black, and not so good in any other combination. Tonberry, that's another card that is in Orzhov and Rakdos. As you can see, like Orzhov and Rakdos are opposed to Golgari and Sultai in terms of the plans, it seems, while blue-black has a sort of plan on their own, and it's closer linked to what blue-red is doing than whatever other black decks are doing. So that's the difference I see between those. So Tonberry, Phantom Train, both of them are cards that are, again, Orzhov plus Rakdos. They seem much better. And Phantom Train is atrocious in Dimir and Golgari, while it's actually solid in Orzhov and Rakdos. Namazu Trader, that card is just like meh, bad in all the decks. Fight On, really bad numbers in Orzhov, Dimir, and Rakdos, but good, actively good in your Golgari and Simic decks. Reno and Rude, sort of Orzhov black-red-ish card, but probably mainly Orzhov, and pretty bad elsewhere. And Zodiac Umbral God is pretty bad everywhere. Slightly better in Orzhov. Poison the Waters, the -1/-1 or discard spell. It's actually all right in Rakdos. I wouldn't pay too much attention to the Sultai numbers. This is a small sample size. Darkness Crystal, pretty bad across board. Summon Anima, pretty bad across board. Maybe slightly better in black-green. Fang, pretty bad across board, except for black-green, where it's still not great, to be fair. But I guess it gets the bonus of being in the same deck with Vanille. Vincent's Limit Break, pretty bad, and again, I would discard that Sultai measurement here. Shambling Sieth, bad. Kutrup Forayer, bad. Kind Traitorous Dragoon, bad. And Varagoth Bloodsky Sire, we don't have win rates of the archetype, but it looks like it's pretty bad in general. Probably, like Varagoth maybe would be good if you could get it pick 7-8, but if you have to sacrifice the first pick to pick that card, it's just not going to cut the mustard. So we start with Chocobo Kick, the best common. It's really good in all the 2-color pairs, slightly lower numbers in Sultai, probably because Sultai has to spend so much time building mana, it won't have good enough targets for it early in the game. 57.7 game in hand win rate, which is high for a common. Then we have the Balamp T-Rexor and Gubu Gardener. They are very similar numbers. They're sort of, this is the kind of Hectize thing. You want them in every green deck. They are not going to be amazing, but they're going to be good. So just put them there. Bartz and Boko, 56% game in hand win rate, but it's specifically much better in white-green and red-green, and slightly worse in blue-green and black-green, which makes sense with the density of birds for it. Bard's Bow, similar situation as with Bartz and Boko, better in white-green and red-green. These are the more aggressive plans for the green decks, while blue-green and black-green are more the Sultai kind of graveyard-centric plans, and you will see some cards that are either good or in one or in the other. And that includes Grand Pulse Ochu, which is better in blue-green and black-green, defensive creature then. And Think Farnbearer, which is just a better version of Grand Pulse Ochu. Again, defensive creature. Play it as a defensive creature as such. Diamond Weapon is only good in black-green. It's particularly bad in blue-green because you don't want to ramp to it. You want to enable it by filling your graveyard with creatures. But in blue-green, you don't have enough creatures or permanents, because blue is good because of its spells. So you will not do the thing. And also you have fewer tools to fill your graveyard. Precious Wanderings, specifically good win rate in red-green and sort of middling outside of it, which makes me think that's why one of the reasons why it makes me think that red-green wants to ramp to Chonkers, and it's great. You just play like a 2-drop, you ramp to 5-drop, and by making your 2-drop relevant, it can start attacking again, and then you just drop a 5-drop and then take over the game. So that's the plan. Blitzball Shot, the combat trick. This is like perfect depiction of what I was saying, that there is a difference between white-green and red-green and blue-green and black-green. This is a white-green and red-green card in the aggro decks. It has like around 0 and minus 3.5 in both blue-green and black-green. Clash of the Icons, sort of middling, was all right in blue-green, probably small size, and probably small size in Sultai as well, so treat with extreme caution. Right, the Shupuf, minuses all across board, but looks at least somewhat promising in a red-green, given all the caveats that red-green is not amazing on its own. Giselle Greens, this is another of those white-green, red-green cards, much better in there than in the other two. Coming with Beavers, just disappointing. It's not Malevolent Rumble, that's clear. Tifa's Limit Break, 54.2% game and hand win rate, but not impressive anywhere. Farseek, black-green and red-green, it has okay numbers, and blue-green, so that's where you want to be ramping your thing and finding extra colors. Particularly good in black-green in terms of numbers. But yeah, again, good numbers in red-green suggest to me that if you build a red-green, you want to be ramping to chonkers. Sidequest Raise a Chocobo, another of this Naya card, white-green and red-green, much better than elsewhere. Reach the Horizon. Now that's a blue-green card specifically, and also good in Sultai. Not particularly good numbers in either red-green or black-green, which tells me that red-green wants to be already dropping the chonkers at the stage when you have 4 mana and not ramping further. And black-green is not interested in ramping. It's interested in gathering value, while blue-green is more specifically a ramp deck. But again, not an impressive card by all means. Giganto, this card is sort of like filler minus. You really don't want to play it, but sometimes you will. Airship Crash, not main deckable in my opinion, but can be a solid sideboard option. So, put it up in best of 3 in terms of the win rate. By the way, these are our numbers from best of 1 because that's where the most numbers are. Queen Coup Gourmet. Okay numbers in white, green, and blue, green, but it doesn't look, the game and hand win rate is pretty poor, so I would be treating it with very healthy dose of skepticism. Rydia's Return, okay numbers in blue-green, where you get to 5 mana easier and get probably both options from the card are going to be fine. Cactuar 51.9, so really bad win rate. However, it's worth noting that it actually has a positive win rate in white-green, while absolutely horrendous in blue-green and black-green, as it's completely the opposite of the plan of those decks that are having. And like meh in red-green. Chocobo Racetrack, generally minuses everywhere. However, this is nothing to do with data, but Alex from Lord of Limited highlighted this card in his State of the Format address, where he thinks that if constructed well, Chocobo Racetrack deck can be actually quite fun and good. But will it come together often? I don't know. Summoner's Grimoire, it actually has not terrible numbers in blue-green at minus 0.1, so basically on par, but terrible everywhere else. And then we have like a bunch of cards that are really bad. Laporit Scout, Jumbo Cactuar has really, really bad numbers. You have to sacrifice an early pick for a bad creature, not worth it. Earth Crystal, Tifa Lockhart, Galuf's Final Act, all those really, really bad across board. And Nature's Claim that only has data for black-green, but has a minus in front of it, and 49% game in hand win rate. All of these are sub 50, which is terrible for 17 lands. I mean, these are probably big traps that you should avoid. Especially Cactuar, I think, is the kind of a trap that people might fall into. And, the feeling of dealing 9,999 damage might be great, but it doesn't happen, does it? Judging by the numbers. Okay, red. Lannery Storm, great in all Red, oh, good in all red decks, but probably less good in white red for some reason. But has over 1.5% in all the other red combinations. Called the Mountain Chocobo. Now, this is definitely card everywhere, but not white red. It has got minus 1.8 in Boros, but it's pretty good elsewhere, especially in blue red. Because of the 4 mana synergies. It just gives you fuel to casting your spells and gives you 2 4-casting spells to cast. Clive, Ifrit's Dominant. This is 57.1, so it's not terrible, but it's not like as amazing as you would think from it being like a flashy saga flip card. At its best, it looks like in white red, but then it's sort of like around 0 in all the other ones. Suplex, that's the hex dice of red, solid in every single one combination of red. Just when you draft red, you pick Suplex, easy. Fire Magic, the mini sweeper that can deal 1, 2, or 3. Really bad in Boros. Believe it or not, killing half of your board is not the best winning strategy. Still bad in blue-red, but it's actually okay in black-red, when probably you can use it early to clean the board and then start doing your cornered by black mages shenanigans and start putting out those mages on board. I guess that you want to cast it before you start making the mages. That would be my guess. Blazing Bomb, pretty bad everywhere, but in blue-red actually has a positive number. Tell Dinked, bad numbers everywhere except for red-green, where landfall triggers can be reused thanks to it. So that's probably the reason for it. And actually pretty solid numbers there. So it's a secret Gruul card. Firion, Wild Rose Warrior, really bad in blue-red, but good in all the other white archetypes. More equipment synergies there. Prompta Argentum, white, red, and blue-red, it looks solid. And it looks filler minus in the other two. Ragavan has a very low game in hand win rate. It's not, it looks worse than the Chocobo, which is surprising. But I think Ragavan is a perfect example of a card where people will just start forcing red for no reason whatsoever. And then they will end up with either Ragavan as a splash, which is obviously missing the point, or Ragavan as a drafted while red was not open, and red is not a powerful enough color to force it. Warrior Sword, solid in white, red, blue, red, and red, green, and below par in black, red. Light Up the Stage, the opposite. It's best in black, red, but not so good in the other ones. I guess getting more spells to cast and is going to work, and the pinging can start Spectacle quite easily without having to attack. Freya Crescent, that's the equipment mana dork, good in white red and acceptable in black red, but not for the other two. Coral Sword, just the prime card for white red, not anywhere else. Opera Love Song, just the prime card for black red, not anywhere else really. Summon Brynhilder, 53.7 generic game and hand win rate is not impressive. It does have like slightly better numbers in red-green. I guess, again, fits with the Chonkers philosophy of if those Chonkers have haste, good. Esper Ramuth, pretty bad numbers, but particularly atrocious in red, white, red. Light of Judgment, same. Queen Bran, a bit of an uptick in black-red. That's a black-red card if I see one, but not even a great one at that. And Laughing Mad, the same. Not even the 4 mana synergies save it in blue-red. There are just better things to do there. -1 in black-red. That's the best result it gets. And we have some other ones. Rauban and Summon GF Cerberus. All of them are just bad across board. Item Shopkeep at least shows some promise in white-red. Brett Wallace, Trap. Mysidian Elder. That's the one that makes a wizard when it EDBs. Turns out, shows that making 2 bodies is not a given of a great card. -0.6 in black-red is the best it can get, but -3.5, -4 in the other ones. So it's a black-red card. Sandworm, it's a chonker. Where does it go? Red-green, -0.4, and pretty bad elsewhere. Hill Giga's just bad everywhere. Sabotender, -0.5 in red-green, bad everywhere else. It's the same numbers as Sandworm. And yeah, I actually had that feeling that Sabotender was decent, and now I know why, because I played it only in my red-green decks. Unexpected Request, pretty bad everywhere. Summon GF Ifrit, actually not terrible in red-green, probably because it can ramp you to your chonkers. And that's your plan. Then we have Mage's Rapier, bad, just bad. Self-Destruct has better numbers in red-green, and I don't know how much has to do with you having the Cactuar that is bad. Haste Magic, bad. And Triple Triad has surprisingly good numbers in red-green, so maybe worth trying it out there. And then we have two bad cards, Side Quest Play, Blitzball, and Fun Street Thief. Just really bad. The Fire Crystal has no numbers from individual archetypes, but 42% in game in hand win rate shows me that the card is atrocious. It's like as F as you get. And then we have three cards where there's no data: Mythic's Mastery, Copper Dragon, Ancient Copper Dragon, and Godo Bandit Warlord. I would guess that of those three, Ancient Copper Dragon and Mythic's Mastery are actually playable, but we just don't have sample size, while Godo is probably avoidable, just judging by the generic gameplays win rate. That's as far as I can get from data from those. Blue, Astrologian's Planisphere, 57.7. So we're back to good cards. It's a good card, especially in Dimir, but solid in all the blue archetypes. Travel the Overworld, Simic, and Sultai is good, and it's not good elsewhere. Summon Shiva, particularly good in blue-green, buys you time to do your rampy stuff, but actually decent numbers in white-blue, and generally like okay. 57.6 is a high win rate. Syncopate, solid across board, but no fireworks. Quistis Treep, very good in Dimir, plus 0.8, and pretty bad in Azorius, minus 2.2. Ishtola Rule, that's an interesting one. 56.9 is a high win rate, but it actually has very bad numbers, both in Dimir, which probably doesn't have enough creatures to blank, and in Azorius, which probably means it's not on plan with it, but has really solid numbers in blue-green, where it's sort of bomby, plus 2.4. Venser doesn't have numbers from the individual archetype, but 56.9 is solid, so you want to be picking it as a sort of like a C plus B minus card. Because, it's at the same level as Scorpion Sentinel, which, don't get me wrong, is fine, particularly blue-green, blue-red. Less so in Sultai, but you probably put it as a filler in most blue decks. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum, it's just below par-ish, so it's not as good as Suplex was, for example, or the what was the black one? Oh, I always forget. Heck Dice, that's the one. Not as good as those. So just slightly below par, but you probably want to put it in your decks at least more often than not, I guess. Realm Sketching, sort of filler, I guess, 56% game in hand win rate. It will make your deck sometimes. And despite costing 4 mana, you don't see a big bump in blue-red win rate for that card. It's still best in blue-red, but minus 0.8 is as good as it gets. Then we have some cards that are maybe good only in one home, starting with Magic Dumper. It looks good in Sultai, and I think that has more to do with the bombs protection than anything else. Those you will build the Sultai pile often because you have Sin, because you have Muldrotha, because you have reanimation of your green bombs or something, and you want to dig for them. Maybe you have the Atraxa, so Magic Dumper is going to be great in those decks for protecting those big creatures. Retrieve the Esper. That's an interesting one because it technically makes this artifact creature, and people thought maybe it's going to be good in Azorius, but it actually looks pretty bad in Azorius. Where it looks at its best is the blue-red, when 2 spells costing 4 is or more is what you really be wanting, but it's still only on minus 0.1 there, 55.8 filler. Brainstorm, 0.7 in blue-red, and here I think it has something to do with blue-red's capacity of really accelerating with the game plan if you get the right card. So you don't get Brainstorm locked, because if you have Shantotto and you can dig for a 4-mana spell through the Brainstorm, then you cast your 4-mana spell, and all of a sudden that Brainstorm Lock is obliterated in one turn. So that's probably one of the reasons for that. Cargo Ship is actually solid in Azorius, but really, really bad elsewhere. Ice Flan, just like mediocre, bad everywhere. And then Valkyrie Unit and Sage Nuoliths are Azorius cards, really. They're really bad everywhere else. Well, Kikirn Merchant is okay in Sultai, probably just buys you enough time to do your shenanigans while looting contributes to the plan. And if it was like a black-green card, probably would have been okay in black-green, but it's not good anywhere else. Edgar, not even great in Azorius. Thief's Knight, not even great in Azorius, at minus 1.1, minus 1.2, both of those cards, so a bit trappy. Rock Turret, bad, slightly better in Azorius. Go-Go, Master of Mimicry, bad, slightly better in Azorius. Prima Vista, bad, slightly better in Azorius. And Matoya, Archon Elder, bad, slightly better in Demir. And then we have the Louis Wa Sacrifice and Ether and Water Crystals, just all below 50% game and hand win rate. And then Teferi, Mage of Zalfir, which we don't have any numbers for. White. First, Magic Armor. I already talked about it in the presentation, so we can skip that one. White Mage's stuff, solid in every white deck. 57.7 game and hand win rate, solid in every white deck. Just play those. The premier 2-drop for white, you really want to be playing it. Then we have Zach Fair. Solid in every white deck, slightly lower numbers in white dreams for some reason, but it's similar to white mage's stuff, and I always found this card being annoying. Magitech Infantry, this has really strong win rates, the decks that have it, but that's probably boosted by the fact that you usually have multiple copies, and there is the multiple copy effect in play there. But yeah, every white deck wants them. You don't have to be limiting yourself, just every white deck wants to have multiple Magitech Infantries. Wall of Omens, on the other hand, not the same story here. Azorius and Orzhov want it, the rest not so much. Restoration Magic, the combat trick, particularly good in white-red because it lets you do that last push of damage. Often opponents will be more dependent on those removal spells to save their life, and Restoration Magic does the trick for that. But it's solid everywhere else. 57% game in hand win rate makes it one of the better combat tricks in the format. A Gaily Cat, solid in every white deck, but obviously you need to put the right amount of artifacts, which with Magitech Infantries should be easy if you draft those. Slash of Light, Azorius, and white-red are more on the go wide kind of scene. Weirdly, it works better in those. Ambrosia Whiteheart, just solid in every white deck. Paladin's Arms, solid in every white deck. Sort of similar numbers from those cards, actually, which not something I would have thought before the format. I would have thought Ambrosia Whiteheart is much better, but actually turns out Paladin's Arms pull their weight, I guess. See, arms pull weight. They're any takers. You were not alone, solid in every white deck. And you can see that a bunch of those white cards that are just solid. There's fewer like bomby things in white, except for Dion, but there's plenty of those solid playables, and this is the deck that's going to get on those solid playables. Danitha Capashen Paragon also quite solid, and Vendor's Weapon quite solid in every white deck. There are minor differences in there, like I guess Weapons Vendor will have the range between number of equipment that you're playing and so on. But yeah, generally solid. And then we go to the cards that are not as good. Primal Garuda, still 55.7 game in hand win rate, but sort of on the minus side most of the time in terms of making their deck stronger. Aerith Gainsborough, 1.3 in Azorius, so much better than in all the other archetypes. It looks like a secret Azorius card, I guess. Then we have Ultima, which is really bad in all the white decks, except for white-black when it's actually 0.7. So maybe there's this kind of Orzhov control-y kind of deck. And maybe there are multiple builds of Orzhov looking at that data, because there's obviously the creature-based ones, but maybe there's if you have Ultima, you can start thinking about this more controlling, removal, attrition, white-black deck. Crystal's Chosen, white-green, it has 0.4 on the plus, and the rest is just minus, and it's particularly not good in white-red. Aerith Rescue Mission, again, slightly better in white-green. but not amazing by any stretch of imagination. Dwarven Castle Guard, better than in white-red than in any other combination. Again, here we can think that making those body after body is great with equipment, and that's what you probably want to have. Grahatia is best in white-green. First of all, again, lack of reach in the format makes it slightly better there, but also probably you're going to get more cards draw thanks to Grahatia. Summon Chocomob, medium, but better in Azorius and Selesnya. Azorius probably because of evasion, and Selesnya because of going actually wide. Ash, Princess of Dalmasca, sort of okay in most of the deck except for white-black. Fate of the Suncrest, that's the removal spell. 53.8 is not amazing. This is not Ride's End, but it's at 0 in white-green, where probably there is a certain shortage of unconditional removal that you can get in other color combinations much easier. Coil, filler minus. Crystal Fragments, slightly better in white-red. Snowvilliers, slightly better in white-black, but not impressive by any stretch of imagination. Wind Crystal, Phoenix Down, all pretty meh. Stiltskin, Boogle Merchant, it's actually positive in white-green, interestingly. So maybe all those shenanigans with sacrificing sagas at their last chapter is actually working there, but not impressive elsewhere. Cloudbound Moogle, pretty bad at 51.8 and minuses across board. And then we have like truly bad cards. The side quest, Catch a Fish, Minimum White Mage, Oron's Inspiration, and Stroke of Midnight. Please stop printing it, people. Please stop printing it. Why do we need another copy of that? It never worked. It was never good in limited. And Commander players should have enough of the versions by now. All right. Then we have 3 cards that don't have data. Ranger Captain of Eos, Lauren of the Third Path, and Mangara the Diplomat. And 2 of them looks to me like they are bombs. There's no data enough, but I think that both of them have strong enough game and play numbers to be on the level of top bombs, really. Well, Mangara is going to be probably somewhere in the middle, like a B minus, C plus kind of creature. And we end up with the multicolor. And, you know, here it's going to be very easy. I mean, they mostly go into their color combination. Like Garland is a good card and it will be good in black-red. Emmet Selch is going to be solid in blue-black, although actually has a slightly minus numbers, but it's got positive numbers in Sultai, and it's got high game in hand win rate, which I would follow in this particular case. Absolute Virtue, also high numbers, but slightly lower in white-blue. I think that this is actually secretly a blue-green card because you ramp enough there, and that effect is something that interests you in those kind of decks. So I would be thinking blue-green, although there is no data available for it. Gladius Amicizia, it's a chonker. It goes in the chonker deck. It also looks good in white-green. 57.5 game in hand win rate generically is pretty solid. Then we have Rufus Shinra. It's good in white-black. Lightning, good, but not as good as you would think. It's got only 56.6 game in hand win rate, and it's actually negative numbers for the white-red. Thrasios Triton Hero, small numbers, so small sample size, improves the blue-green decks, but the game in hand win rate is not impressive. Judge Magister Gabranth, 55.9, also not an impressive number for a signpost. Not disqualifying by all means, but nothing to write home about. And same goes with Giot and Garnet, Princess of Alexandria, around 55.8, 55.9. Medium numbers, nothing to be. It's not like some of those signposts that are reason to draft a particular color. These are not it. Like, Shantotto we talked about, and Emperor of Palamecia. These two are definitely reasons to be on Izzet, and so is Cloud of Darkness, and even the X-Death. These are not in that same category. Then we have Terra Magical Adept. 55.7, not impressive as well, especially for something that you need to probably first pick. Slightly improving the red-green, but red-green is not great to start with, so there's a problem with that. There's Ultimecia, 55.6. Okay-ish numbers, but really bad as a splash in blue-red. I think that people underestimate how hard it is to flip it, and then you need 2 black to flip it. Just not worth the hassle, probably. Sid, 55.5, not impressive in white-blue. I don't think that this deck comes together often enough. Rydia, Summoner of Mist, 55%, which is not bad given that red-green is below 55% itself, so it actually contributes to the positive win rate in red-green. It has really bad numbers in blue-green as a splash. Just like this is not the kind of a thing you want to be splashing in your blue-green decks. I know, I tried. It didn't work. Tellite Great Sage, just the negative numbers in all the archetypes where we've seen it. So it doesn't look particularly great. 54.9. Wandering Minstrel, again, negative numbers. 54.7 generic win rate, but even in blue-green, it's minus 3.1. Probably not worth building around. Choco, Seeker of Paradise. I can imagine good decks with it, but probably people go too much all in on Arena with that. And those decks come together so rarely that I probably wouldn't risk it on the Pro Tour level. Balthier and Fran, just it's a good rate creature, just like zero synergy with what its ability does. So it's just minus 0.3 in red-green, which is not impressive by any stretch of imagination. Even though on rate it looks quite good, but maybe detracts people from what they should be doing, and that is ramping to your 5-drops. Black Waltz number 5, actually disappointing numbers for Black Lad, 52.7. This is what I would consider a trap signpost uncommon. Then we have Golbus Crystal Collector. It got -5 for blue-black. That's the one for that gets artifact synergies. And I think here, the trap is not Golbus itself, but the whole type of build altogether. I think that blue-black should not be at all built as anything to do with artifacts. It should be built as a spells deck, and then it's at its best. Trying to build a Golbus synergy deck puts you on the wrong track, and then you start losing. That card is still not great, though. Then we have the bad cards: Dovid's Veto, Hope, S-Time, Tedious, Blizzball Star, all of them Azorius. Azorius didn't get any good multicolor cards for its own decks. That's a bit sad for it. Sarah Farron, bad white-green card. Noctis, Prince of Lucis. Again, showing that this Esper trap is real, -7.4 and 48% game in hand win rate. And then we have last Kinan, Bonder, Prodigy, and Timna without any data. And Wynota, Joiner of Forces, with no data generically, but with enough numbers to say that it's plus 5.4% in white-red, which makes it a bomb of a high caliber and worth first picking and building around. So Wynota definitely is in. Cool. We've crossed all the cards in the set, and hopefully it will be useful for you, dear Team Cosmos competitors, but also dear listeners. And with that, I'll see you next week. With the thanks to 17 Lands, obviously, because without them, we wouldn't have any of those data. So kudos to 17 Lands for providing this excellent tool. This, as you can see, can be applied from beginners to the highest level of the competition. We'll see if successfully on Friday and Saturday. Cheers.